Hello, I'm Bob Matheny, Mayor of Town of Zebulon, and this is, guess what, the Zebulon Mayor's Show. We're going to have a special guest with us here in just a few minutes, but first I wanted to very quickly tell you what we were working on through our work sessions, and that is the updated transportation plan for the Town of Zebulon. There'll be a lot more coming on this later, but basically what this plan will do is look at our streets and determine how we want them to look as we go down the road so that we don't end up with gridlock and major traffic problems trying to flow traffic through town so people can either get to shopping centers or they can get home, whatever the case may be. The last time we updated this plan was in 2001, so its time has come to go back and revisit. Again, as I said just a second ago, we'll be bringing you that information on this station so you can understand and have input into it. There will be opportunity to hear from you, the citizen, of what you like about it, what you don't like about it, or perhaps any suggestions. We will be moving forward on that very actively over the next several months, so stay tuned and get informed. We're going to introduce a guest with us that is newly elected to the town board. We had elections in November, and I was fortunate enough for the people to re-elect me as mayor, and I do very much appreciate that. Beverly Clark, a longtime serving commissioner, also was re-elected. And then we had Glenn York, who's with me today, and Glenn is a first termer and replaced Roy Collins. Roy Collins has been ill and not able to run. He served us very well for a very long period of time, and my heart's with him, and I hope he does very well. Glenn, it's very good to have you here today, and welcome to the Zebulon Board of Commissioners.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, I wanted to have this show with you today to let the people get to know you. I know you got elected, so you're known, but there may be some people that do not know you, and then also the ones that do know you may not know some of your background. And I think a lot of our people would like to know about their representation on the Zebulon board. Tell me just a little bit about your family background.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the citizens for their confidence in electing me to the Board of Commissioners. I went to school here, 1 through 12. James E. Shepherd High School. The last year I was in high school, we integrated. So I was the first graduating class from Zebulon High School.
Okay.
Grew up here, lived all my life, was a Boy Scout. Growing up, I worked down at Percy Parish Supermarket, Mr. Parish and Miss Peggy Parish. For years, I drove school bus, and this is home. You know, my family's, most of my family's here. My father still lives here, and a couple of my brothers still live here.
I know when we had the swearing-in ceremony that night that you had family there, and your father stood up and held the Bible for you. So
yeah.
that was very nice to see that.
He was glad to do it. Glad to do it.
Well, that's great. Now, that time came, you left Zebulon.
Oh, yes.
And tell us about those years.
Well, upon graduation, I attended North Carolina Central University in Durham. I was there for 4 years. I graduated with a BS degree in pre-physiotherapy with concentration in physical education. Upon graduation, I went to work for the state of North Carolina. I started at Dorothea Dix Hospital and worked there probably about a year. And then this opportunity came in the Department of Corrections over at Central Prison, where they were sending folks to school to become nurses. And I had a lot of science courses already taken, so I joined that program and got my nursing degree through Wake Technical College at that time. Worked, that was the beginning of my career with state government.
Right.
Worked very various jobs throughout my career, my 31-year career
Right.
with the department. Mental health nursing programs, custody and security, classifications. My last assignment, I was involved in drug rehab treatment programs throughout the state. And those positions basically had me all over the state from one time or another. As the old saying, from Murphy to Manio,
Right.
I've been there in some capacity. Worked with youth up at Morganton at the old high-rise facility they used to call it, but I think they tore it down this year. Love the mountains, beautiful up there. And my last job was in administration back in Raleigh. So I started in Raleigh and I ended in Raleigh. So I made a complete circle.
Well, I heard you said you went all across the state. Were you living in Raleigh at that time? Or?
I was living in those various places.
Various places.
Yes.
Okay.
Goldsboro. They opened up a new facility there. 1978. I transferred from Central Prison. Well, I got promoted down there. They had a mental health. The prison system was getting more involved in mental health issues because back during that time, the mental health facilities were, I guess, downsizing, and they were putting a lot of their clients back on the streets, and some of them wound up in our system, and we didn't have the capability at that time for treating them, so we had to create stuff, bring in mental health professionals. So we had 2 facilities just designed for that. Right. So I worked by having a background with mental health nursing. I got a position with them.
So you were with them for 31 years?
31 years.
Right. Well, I know what you did to make your living. What did you do as an avocation?
Well, I've always been the kind of person, wherever I lived, I kind of got involved in what was going on, around me or whatever. A lot of interesting people in corrections of all various backgrounds, but I played a lot of sports when I was growing up. Basketball, ran a little track, played tennis. So everywhere I kind of went, I kind of got up with folks that played tennis. Right. There was always somebody that played tennis. Right. So in fact, we used to, when I was working in Raleigh, we used to work second shift and we go play tennis at 11 o'clock to about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Right. But I've always been active in some kind of sports activity. Right. Now I just play golf or when I can. When you can.
Well, you ought to have a little more time. I don't know. Now this board will take some time for you too.
Yes. I was telling someone that my golf game's not going to get any better, so it doesn't really matter about the time.
Well, you have to team up with Commissioner Beck, who's
I see him out there. Golfer. I see him on the
and Commissioner Strickland.
Yeah.
They both
I see both of them out there in Zebulon sometimes.
I understand they're both good golfers. I had played with Dale, Commissioner Beck. I used to play a little golf, but I always, when I was on the course, kind of thought I wished I was doing something else. So I said, well, why don't you just do it? So that's what I did. But anyway, well, that's really interesting. Now, you said that every community you're in, you got involved in the community, and that's very obvious that you have done that when you've moved back to Zebulon now. Let's talk about some of the things that you are doing in the community. I know, for example, the Recreation Board, and I'll let you tell me about that.
Well, I was very interested in things that were going on at the community center, Zebulon Community Center. When I was growing up, that was the old armory, and it's just fascinating what it has turned into today. And I think it's a vital part of our community because somebody's always there doing something, taking classes or whatever, or involved in some kind of activity. and it's very well used by the community. So when I moved back, and I was just kind of asking the director about the advisory council, because I know most of your facilities like that have an advisory council, and she said, yeah, we need somebody. So I said, well, I'll fill out the application, and so that's how I got on the advisory council for the Parks and Recreation, and really enjoyed my time there. Hated to give it up because once I became commissioner, I had to give it up.
Well, you didn't actually have to give it up. What you did is that you're not formally a member of it, but as a commissioner, you are always welcome, I believe, at any of those meetings. So just know that.
Okay, all right.
But, well, I know that you were involved with Youth Council.
Yes.
Some couple of months ago, I was contacted by a young lady, and she was interested in formulating a youth council, and then I put her with the people from the Recreation Department. Unfortunately, they meet on a night that we always have a town board meeting, but I know you've been involved.
Yes,
so
yes, I'm involved with the Zebulon Youth Council. Was the first Zebulon Youth Council of its kind, and some very, very interesting young men and women on there from various schools in the community, and it's kind of peer driven. What they feel like is important to them as far as the community is concerned, and we just kind of sit back and guide them in the directions of trying to accomplish whatever they set out to accomplish. They have a few things on the one thing they want to get involved is distracted driving, teens texting and whatever, talking on the cell phone. And there'll be some stuff coming out where they're going to go around to schools probably in January and present some programs. It's just it's a lot of things that they really want to get involved in, but try to take one project at a time.
The exuberance of youth.
Yeah, and of course, they don't see that some of this stuff you may need resources to accomplish some of this. So but they're a great group of kids, and I still look forward to working with them.
Well, you certainly can remain involved. I mean, that's for sure. Boys and Girls Club.
Yes, I'm also on the board of directors for the local Zebulon Boys and Girls Club here in Zebulon over on Shepherd Road, and a lot of interesting folks on that board. I've been in contact with Miss Weeks prior to and when I ran for commissioner in '08, she and I got together, and I told her how interested I was with the Boys and Girls Club. So I basically volunteered, signed up to volunteer, and then openings came on the board, and I said, well, I can do that too. So working with them on some of their projects.
That has been a very successful evolution from just a thought some years ago to where they are today with that new building, and just so excited to have them here. And as I know you're aware, we're working on a sidewalk from the middle school to Boys and Girls Club, but it's been difficult to say the least. Every time we thought we had it nailed down, something else fell in the way, but that's another story.
Oh yeah.
What really prompted you to run for town board?
Well, I've always been interested in what goes on in the town, including your show. I watched your show on cable, and just being aware of current events. Speaking of Mr. Collins, the former board member, he was my 6th grade teacher. And one of the things that he stressed when we were in school was current events. In fact, I think every day you had to bring in something that was going on current, which prompted you to read a newspaper, listen to the news, and I think that started me being aware of what's going on around me. And didn't like it at that time, but I see where it was very beneficial in getting an individual involved in what's going on around him, and I thank him for that, and I also thank him for his years of service on the
Mr.
board.
Collins is such a wonderful person,
Yes.
and I don't know how many people really know that he has Alzheimer's and is in an Alzheimer's facility, and I just wish him the best. I know that he's had a hard time with it, and it's a mean thing to have.
Oh, yes.
And, but our hearts and souls are with him, and he taught my children too. So, wonderful man. Well, you told me that you had a few items of special interest that you wanted to talk about. So let's talk about walking trails.
Okay.
That was one of the things that you had.
Yes. I living in, I think, Morganton, the western part of the state. They had, well, it's beautiful up there anyway, with the mountains and everything. But they had trails, just trails and trails and trails and bridges, and people were out there all the time, you know, enjoying those trails. And I always thought that, you know, we would benefit in the community if we had more walking trails. You know, it just makes the community more attractive to folks that want to come and live here. So that was just one of my interests.
Well, just to kind of cover where we are in trails, you know, I believe it's the John Rex Foundation and endowment that we received a grant, and we now have 3/4 of a mile of paved walking trails in Community Park, going around in between the ball fields, around the ball fields, goes through the woods at the beginning of the Frisbee course. And then when I would go down there and walk, I would just walk the Frisbee course, you know, as long as you can stay out of the way of the players and not interfere with their game. So that's one of the trails that we have, and we have been a dream of mine for a long time, and I know you're aware of this, that to have a walking trail from Community Park all the way to Five County Stadium. Now there is a sewer easement that runs that whole way, and we've had land donated to the town about halfway between, about 14 acres have been donated to us, and most of it's high ground there. There is some low ground down there. And when we have our upcoming transportation plan that I was speaking about earlier in the show, this trail is in there as one of our projected projects. The problem is, well, first of all, it's money. That's part of the problem, but I think we can work through that with the years. But the other part is that when we got the sewer easement, we did not get a walking easement for it, so we have to go back to the landowners and see if they would agree to modify the easement so that people can use it as a walking trail. That particular trail would be, in round numbers, 3.5 miles. So it would, I think, be very nice in this beautiful area. I've walked it several times just dreaming about what we could end up with down there. We also have the Ginger Lake Trail, which would tie the development of Tarrant Meadows into the development of Weaver's Pond. Now that's all for people that don't know where that is. That's up in the northern end of Wakefield. Tarrant Meadows fronts on Proctor Street, and Weaver's Pond is on over behind that, Pippin Road, I believe it is. So it would tie those two together. That would be a fairly short trail, but it'd be a nice walking trail through the woods up there. The other thing that we've done as a town, we've asked that any future sewer easements that we get would be to include walking on them, so we don't have the problem that we have with the Community Park, Five County Stadium Trail. So that's where we are on that. Now, I know that another interest that you had was in our fire station, number 2.
Yes. You know, the fire station, it was the fire station we have now, you know, it's been here since I was a kid. And so I know it's probably, you know, aged over the years, but and with our growth in population, you know, at some point, you know, for safety is concerned, I would think we would need an additional fire station.
Well, and you're right, we do. We the town purchased a few years back some property off of Green Pace Road. Yeah, be sure I'm talking about the right road. It was off of Green Pace to locate a second fire station up there. Now, when the economy went flat, that pushed the need for it back because building wasn't going on up there. But it's starting to come back now, and you know, so we will need that second station. A lot of people are maybe not aware that this fire department serves not just the town of Zebulon, but also the fire district, which is out in the county. Now, as a result of that, the county pays a portion of our cost of running the fire department. And we, of course, talked to them about taking their share of construction of a second station. So the issue with the station we have, quite honestly, is not particularly age. It's a matter of having people in two locations for a quicker response to a fire, or they're also first responders now too, so they go out first for wrecks, automobile accidents, and that sort of thing. We're actually scheduled now to do the engineering in 2018, so we're about 4 years out on that, and begin construction in 2019. It's about a $2.1 million project to build, and we're looking to finance for 10 years when we do that. Another piece that is possible is that Wake County EMS might want to co-locate with us out there. So that would mean that the county fire, the county EMS, and Zebulon would go together to build a facility. So, you know, we're not really in that on our own. We're looking for help, but that's the current numbers would be, you know, 2018 to get cranked up, in 2019 to start construction. So we'll see where that goes from here. Well, the other thing that you had a question about or some interest in was a safety plan for the school, town school safety plan. So.
Yes, you know, with all this recent incidents that's been happening throughout the country in our schools and shootings or whatever, I was just real concerned about us having a plan, or us having the resources for a plan for to take the appropriate action when something like this happens. And you know, I know we can rely on Raleigh for a lot of things when it comes to that, but you know, the response time from Raleigh to here, that could be, you know, something that could be a problem. So I was just real interested in what we have and what direction we're going in.
Well, let me respond to that as much as I can. First of all, I need to tell everyone that we can't really divulge everything about the plan because we don't want general public to know some of the things.
Yeah, I
mean, it's a
understand.
security issue. But all of our officers are trained in the schools, and they're trained for active shooters. They're trained for other situations, and they've actually had rehearsals in the schools. So it's not like they haven't been over there. It's not just textbook. You know, it's hands-on type of work. Now, there is an SRO, a school resource officer, that's provided by Wake County at the Zebulon Middle School, and our department works with that officer as well as the Wake County School security people, which is a separate entity, if you will. But again, all of our officers are trained in active shooter response. We have 2 instructors on our force that teach this process, and any 3 officers can respond to an active shooter and initiate a plan. Any 3 of our officers, as long as we have 3 of them that get together, they can go in and do a plan to entry in the event of an active shooter. So beyond that, I'm really not at liberty to discuss, you know, what we have. But the point is, in answer to your concern, is that we do have a plan, and we do have the capabilities within our departments. Now, does that mean that other departments wouldn't come down if it was prolonged or whatever? Of course they would, but we don't necessarily have to wait for them. we're good to go. And that plan is constantly reviewed and updated based on changing circumstances. So I feel pretty comfortable with what we've done. I've had some conversations with our chief on this issue, and he feels that they're in very good stead to handle a situation like that. We all hope that never happens.
Yes, definitely.
But anything else that you'd be interested in?
Well, like I say, I'm new, and this is a learning process for me, and so I'm on the fast track, and I'll be looking forward to training and going to classes and learning as much as I can about municipal government.
Well, I know you're signed up for the Essentials of Government at the School of Government in Chapel Hill. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go over there myself. In fact, the second day I'm going to help instruct. So the first day I'm going to get my ethics training, and that a lot of people may not realize that every time you get elected or re-elected, you have to go take ethics training. And so I'll be taking that course first day, and second day I'm going to help be it well. Quasi-instructor, if you will. So I'll be over there with you. But that's coming up in January. And those that are not familiar with the School of Government, I mean, that's just a wonderful resource for us on all sorts of questions, training, on and on. So looking forward to that. It's very nice to have you on board, and I wish you well. I have great belief that you'll do a wonderful job. And I just appreciate you taking time today to come and talk to us.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to thank y'all for watching, and I hope you found this information useful. As always, if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll see you next go-round.